Hello, Glenda back from Top Notch Legal. Now, in my last video, I emphasized the significance of incorporating a good faith obligation into your contracts in order to protect you against an unscrupulous business partner who might fulfill the legalities of a contract but not really fulfill the purpose of the contract. And I discussed how lacking such an obligation can leave you vulnerable to being taken advantage of, while the other party really is acting with impunity. Now, today, I want to give you a real life example about how this can play out. Now, this situation involved a client of mine some years back at a period of time when we weren't talking about good faith obligations in contracts in Australia. Now, in this particular case, the client saw an opportunity to become a telecommunications and internet service provider, in other words, an ISP. And to realise this vision, they entered into negotiations with the business partner that I'm going to call the supplier. And this business partner gave them some outstanding presentations and led them to believe that the supplier would deliver them an amazing billing and management platform that would put my client ahead of their competitors in the marketplace. Now, the negotiations were very complex. They spanned many months, but eventually both parties signed a 3-year contract. And they were both aware that for at least six months, it was going to take a lot of work to get the platform modified to meet the exact requirements of my client. But for the 3-year period, my client had to make substantial monthly payments. This was obviously part of the deal. So they got started, but it was pretty evident 3 months in that things were not going according to expectations, and things were just off, not on track at all. At these weekly meetings, the supplier would make promises about what they were going to achieve the next week. They would return to the next weekly meeting and they hadn't achieved what they promised that they would do. And my client was bleeding because they were making these monthly payments. They couldn't see the platform being developed, certainly not on time, and so all their financial forecasts were being blown out the window. Now, ideally, this platform should enable my client to make some amazing monthly reports and, just get a lot of information out about their customers. And much of the information they had to do manually, which was just not viable at all. So what could my client do? Frustration was through the roof, and that my client was bleeding. Now, this problem here was that the contract lacked detailed technical specifications. And so arguably the supplier had fulfilled their obligation under the contract because they had delivered a platform, albeit subpar, but that platform did have some functionality. So you've got here someone who's so-called performed the contract, but not really achieving what it was set out to achieve. And my client, the innocent one, was required to keep making these large monthly payments. What could my client do about it? Now, had there been a good faith obligation in the contract, it might have saved the day, because what a good faith obligation does is it points directly to the purpose behind the contract and what the parties actually want to achieve through the contract. And it could well have been a situation where the supplier would have had to deliver that at not at these exorbitant monies that my client was required to pay. So how did this all end up? Well, it ended up okay, and I'm going to explain that in the next video. I was happy that I was able to save my client at the end of the day. So watch out for the next video. That's it, Glenda from Top Notch Legal.